Alright, so now essentially everything goes together like this. And depending on how far I want my bait stick, okay, which is over here, where I want to put the bait on, which is here, where how far underneath the deadfall I want to put it, is where I would lay my notch, okay, like so. Alright, so I kind of like to have the bait, you know, just like right about there. Okay, now I'm eyeballing this. Sometimes you might want to have it way underneath there. Sometimes you might want to have it right at the tip. Okay, and you can see the notch would adjust accordingly. Okay, so essentially I'm going to eyeball this where I want the notch at, right where my thumb is on this piece here, and I'm going to go ahead and make a notch here. So I go ahead and saw downward. Okay, so again, I'm just going to make sure that my notch's lip is at a 90-degree angle on the profile, so perfectly up and down. Okay, so that's that. Alright, and we go ahead and test it out. What I like to do is go ahead, here's a support stick, and we got the angle stick. Okay, and then I go ahead and it catches in there when I apply weight. Right? Like so, and this is good. Alright, this is pretty good, quick and dirty, like so. So the next part, which is really tricky, so I'm gonna go between the support stick and the bait stick, okay? Because what we have to do is we have to create a lip. We have to create a lip, okay, on the bait stick, and then we also have to create a right angles on the support stick. Alright, so what I like to do is go ahead and create the right angles first on the support stick. Okay, so what I want, essentially, and I'm going to use my blade to demonstrate, and then I'm going to carve it out. Okay, if you see the profile of the support stick here, okay, I want to create an angle. I want to shave downward here, and then I want to shave downward here. So what ends up happening is there ends up being a corner here, okay, for the bait stick here to catch, okay, because when I need to create a notch on the bait stick. Okay, so let me go ahead and do it, and then I can show it to you. But it still has bark on, so it should be really visible. All right. Prior to that, actually, we've kind of put together our trap a bit so that we can eyeball about where we want to start creating the angle. Okay, so my angle is probably going to have to start right about here on this, and that's fine. It's a little higher than I like, but it's alright. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start shaving. What I want to do is I want the shaving, again, looking down the stick to be perpendicular, okay, or parallel with the profile of the side of the of my wedge here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and shave downward. Okay, so that's my first shave. Okay, and again, when I'm shaving this, I'm actually really pulling it. There's no one around me, so sometimes if I may slip, then I'm not really that concerned, but in practice I really should be pulling it like this. If there's people around me, I'm pulling. Because if someone was sitting across the table and I slipped, you know, now we have an injury, which is not good. So really, as I'm shaving this, I want to pull the stick towards me. Okay, I'm not done yet, but just to give you an idea of what I'm doing here, you see how I'm creating, the bark adds a good contrast so you can see the angle that I'm starting to create on the support stick here. Okay, one side is parallel with the front of the wedge here, the other side is perpendicular or parallel with the side, okay, or perpendicular to the side or parallel to the side of the wedge. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make this a nice sharp corner. Okay, so essentially I have my right angle. Okay, now with the bait stick, notice how I have the top notch here, okay? And this, the top notch, is going to have to catch, put my knife away. The top notch is going to have to catch on the where you see my finger here, the right angle that I just created, okay? So that means I have to create a notch, all right, perpendicular to my top one. So in other words, if my top one is here, I need to create another notch here, okay? So that's kind of the trick, and you kind of have to look down your shaft again and make sure that you're exactly perpendicular, okay? So I'm gonna go down here. All right, now we pretty much have the trap all set to go. I did some minor adjustments and some fine tuning on the right angle here on the support stick, as well as doing some fine tuning on the perpendicular notch here on the bait stick. Okay, so again, it's one of those things where you kind of go back and forth and just take off a little bit at a time, not too much because you can't put it back. You take off a little bit at a time to get it just right. You want to you want to keep a balance between making something hair trigger and something that is just so tight and solid it won't set. Okay, it won't go off. All right, so we got my support stick here. All right, and I'm going to set it up facing me, and this is my angle stick where my bait or the deadfall rests, and then this is the bait stick, which then I just rest in the end lip here, okay, and then I go ahead and I can just go ahead and rest my weight onto the angle stick. And as you can see, it's gonna work for us, okay? And again, how this works is you go ahead and just tap and it all falls apart. All right. Now some fine tuning. For the bait stick, I go ahead and I like to sharpen the edges, the ends. It doesn't really matter because if you have bait that'll wrap around it, it works pretty good. Okay. Stick is a little brittle, doesn't have too much life in it yet. Alright. And for me, it's just kind of aesthetics, if anything. This isn't necessary. Okay, so I sharpen the end here, and then on my angle stick, I go ahead and I kind of round the edges so that, because sometimes your deadfall, you'll have to find a crevice or a node in the body of the deadfall for the this angle stick to set up in, okay? Especially if it's like a round log or something. The logs tend to want to roll, so you want to kind of have something that'll set. And you know, it may not necessarily be necessary. You know, if you're limited on tools, you know, then it'll work either way. But this is just some fine tuning, okay? So again, I just rounded the edges here.